In an age defined by economic volatility and shifting geopolitical alliances, one question stands above the rest. How does a nation secure its long-term future for Canada? The answer is becoming unmistakably clear. Build an economy resilient enough to withstand the political turbulence of its closest ally and largest trading partner, the United States. Tonight, we examine a profound transformation in Canadian economic strategy, a deliberate shift from deep dependence on the U.S. toward a doctrine of strategic self-reliance. This is not about breaking ties. It is about managing a critical relationship from a position of strength rather than vulnerability. This recalibration did not emerge in isolation. During the Trump administration, particularly through the 2017 to 2018 NAFTA renegotiations and the sudden U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum under the claim of national security, Ottawa received a harsh lesson. For decades, the Canada-U.S. economic relationship was seen as a global success, deeply intertwined, highly efficient, and mutually beneficial. But that same integration created a structural weakness. Over 75% of Canadian exports rely on a single market. That level of concentration is not just an economic concern. It is a national security risk. The realization was broader than any single administration. The takeaway was clear. Any nation overexposed to another's domestic politics is vulnerable. And in the modern world, supply chains and market access can be used as leverage, or even as weapons. Canada's response has evolved into a coherent long-term doctrine. This is not isolationism. Global economics make that impossible. It is what strategists call de-risking, reducing exposure to external shocks by diversifying supply chains, strengthening domestic industries, and ensuring the ability to maintain economic continuity under pressure. The objective is a rebalanced partnership with the U.S., one based on mutual strength rather than dependence. The most visible component of this strategy is unprecedented investment in domestic capacity, stimulating internal growth to reduce sensitivity to U.S. policy swings or downturns. Take the federal housing strategy. While promoted as a response to affordability, it doubles as industrial policy, leveraging public land, accelerating factory-built construction, and streamlining financing to create a powerful homegrown construction ecosystem. The underlying intent is strategic. A self-sufficient housing sector less tied to cross-border materials and U.S. interest rate cycles. This aligns with a more targeted procurement strategy. A blanket by Canadian mandate may be unrealistic, but major federal contracts, especially in defense and infrastructure, now requires substantial domestic investment and content. Every tax dollar is meant not only to purchase products like warships or rail cars, but also to build Canadian industrial capability, innovation, and high-value jobs. This direction is reinforced by a $1 trillion investment plan in national infrastructure, clean energy, and artificial intelligence, not merely stimulus, but a designed effort to generate internal momentum. But domestic strength alone cannot accomplish de-risking. To rebalance its relationship with Washington, Canada is also restructuring its global economic positioning. The first move, trade diversification. Through agreements like CETA with Europe and CPTPP in the Indo-Pacific, Canada is creating real alternatives. When a forestry company in New Brunswick can sell equally to Belgium or Japan, a U.S. tariff threat loses much of its leverage. Options create negotiating power. The second and most powerful external strategy is centered on critical minerals, the essential resources behind EV batteries, clean energy, advanced electronics, and defense technologies. Currently dominated by China, the supply chain is a major vulnerability for the entire West. But the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act requires these minerals to come from the U.S. or a free trade partner, making Canada indispensable. By investing heavily in mining, processing, and battery manufacturing, Canada is positioning itself as the most secure, democratic source of critical minerals in the Western Hemisphere. For the first time in decades, Canada holds undeniable leverage in the relationship, leverage that the U.S. cannot simply ignore. Consider a hypothetical. A future U.S. administration threatens 25% tariffs on Canadian auto parts. In the old model, disaster. In the new model, Canada answers from strength, backed by domestic EV production, alternative global markets, and the ability to impact U.S. access to critical minerals that power its own auto sector. Tariffs become a risky move, not a unilateral weapon. The combination of internal resilience, external diversification, and strategic resource leverage is creating a more economically sovereign Canada. This is not the end of the Canada-U.S. partnership. It remains one of the most successful alliances in the world. Rather, it is the beginning of a more balanced, mature, and resilient partnership. Canada is not building walls. It is building bridges outward and reinforcing its own foundation at home. The era of dependency is closing. The era of resilient interdependence has begun. Stay with us as we continue tracking this evolving economic landscape. Thank you for watching.